Welcome back to Jessica Ruth Knits, a podcast where I talk about knitting and life in general and homesteading and semi-off-grid living, but mainly about knitting. My name is Jessica, and I will be your host for today. Thank you for everybody that's returning, and welcome to anybody that's new and didn't see my first episode. I'm so excited to be back and to have episode 2. So come along. I'm going to start out today with finished objects. And I don't know if you guys can see, but this is my Sophia sweater. I was working on it last week. The neck, as I've been wearing it, has stretched out quite a bit. So you can kind of wear it like off one shoulder. I didn't want it to be too big of a neck, but after blocking it and putting it on, it has just gotten huge. I didn't say where you can find me. On Ravelry, I am Sergeant Griff's Girl, so it's SGTGRIFFS Girl, GIRL. On Instagram, I am Jessica Ruth Knits, all one word. And on Facebook, I am just Jessica, last name, Knits. So, that's really the only 3 places I am. I'm not on Twitter and LO and all of that stuff. So, check me out there. I would love if you guys like this video, if you'd give it a thumbs up, if you'd subscribe. So, last episode, obviously, was my very first, and I had no subscribers to start out with. You guys, we're at like 38 subscribers. That is just so exciting to me. I had no idea if anybody would watch this. I didn't even think my mom would watch it because it's about knitting, and she already hears about my knitting. So, to have 38 subscribers is super exciting in my book. So, thank you guys so much for everybody that subscribed. Thank you to those of you who will subscribe in the future, and I appreciate every single one of you, so thank you for that. I have a co-host, Harley, the cat is over here. You guys didn't meet her last week because she is the adult cat. Kitty, kitty, come here. You want to say hi? So she is the big one. Say hi. Look. Oh, over here. Harley. Tim rescued, my husband, rescued her from a car engine in Houston. He was down there visiting his parents, and this lady was distraught because there was a whole bunch of kittens apparently in her car engine. I guess they crawled up there because it was nice and warm, and then they couldn't get out. And she had since driven from her home where she thinks they crawled up, into a massive parking lot. So, my husband, he got them all out. She could only take one. There was 3 of them. She could only rescue one of them. One of them ran off and they couldn't catch it. And then, so Harley was the 3rd one. Kitty, kitty. Hi. And so we named her Harley because my husband was down in Houston and he had his Harley, and that was the only vehicle he had to get back. And so she was an itty bitty kitten when we got her. And so she rode all the way home in his saddlebag on his Harley. So, she is aptly named Harley. So there's Harley, Anastasia, and Bartok. Those are my co-hosts that are indoors and that you guys will see. Okay, finished objects. So, my Sophia sweater. I love it. Last week, I was so close to finishing, and I got a little bit ahead of myself, and I was like, oh, it's big enough, or long enough, and I cast off, and it came, like, right to under my boobs. It was like an 80s crop top halter shirt. And like I said before, I am an ample person, and nobody wants to see that. So, I had already done like 1.5 inches of the ribbing on the bottom of it. So I had to not only unpick the cast off, I had to undo the ribbing, and I added about a whole nother ball. So I'll stand up. So it goes, it goes quite a bit down. So it's just like that. It's super cute. I love it. We're going to Hawaii tomorrow for my sister's wedding. So I'm going to take my Sophia sweater. It's 50% silk, 50% bamboo, I think. Or maybe it's cotton. But regardless, I think it'll be nice, just have something that I made in Hawaii without making me too hot. So, that's my Sophia sweater. Okay, the next finished object. Kristen of the Yarngasm is doing a unicorn along. And at first, I thought, I don't have any kids. There's no reason I would need to knit anything unicorn. I just won't participate, and that'll be that. But then I saw, I believe it was Rachel. No, Tabby of the Hey Sister podcast made a unicorn toy for her little girl. And it was just the cutest thing ever. So I thought, you know what? I have a ton of scraps. I just need to make one. And guys, it is so cute. So look at this. This is my unicorn. Can you see her? And she's got her little horn. She has a crazy mane and tail. It's just scraps that I used, and I threw in some of this crazy glittery, I don't know, stuff that I think just kind of makes it whimsical. And her tail is the same. So it's like that. It was all scraps, all pretty much minis. Neither of my blankets that I'm doing are using pastel colors. And so I had these minis, and they're not indie dyed or anything, and so I didn't want to pass them on in swaps. And I didn't want to throw them out, so they've just been sitting there. So I thought, I mean, how perfect to just put in all the different minis and make a little scrappy unicorn. So the pattern is Nilla. It's Nilla. I'm not sure who the designer is, but I will put everything in I'll put show notes in the Ravelry group, and so I will link to this. But if anybody needs a unicorn pattern that is adorable, for a little girl in your life, or just because you want to knit a toy like me, I highly recommend this pattern. It was super easy, super quick. You could probably make it a little bit easier. So it was knit all in pieces. But what I think I would do if I did it again is knit the appendages onto the body. So that way at the end there's no seaming up, and it would just be a little bit smoother. So yeah, that's Nilla the unicorn, and I love her. So there we go. Put her over there before the cats get her. Okay, the last finished object I have. I had actually made this hat and finished it a while ago, but it just needed a pom-pom. And so I was debating, do I use yarn and make a yarn pom-pom? But I didn't have a pom-pom maker big enough for the, to proportionately fit on this hat. And the last time I made a yarn pom-pom on a hat, the cats got a hold of it, and they pulled out every single little strand in the pom-pom. I mean, they just had a field day with it. So I really didn't want to, and once you cut the pom-pom, you can't really put it back together because it's like little itty-bitty pieces. So I didn't really want that to happen again. So the hat was just sitting on my desk. And then yesterday I went to a yarn shop, and I'll talk about that in acquisitions. But they had the faux fur pom-poms. Oh my goodness, it was perfect. So this is the Cozy Head, Happy Head. It's the new pattern by Joji Locatelli, and it was such a fun knit. I loved it. The yarn is Malabrigo. I don't remember the colorway, but I'll put it's on my project page in Ravelry. It's just got big chunky cables, followed by these little ribbed outlines here. And then I put the faux fur pom-pom. So, the yarn shop was selling these pretty much at cost because she bought a whole bunch and nobody wanted them. So, I was super excited to be able to snag a pom-pom. So last night, I just threw it on there pretty quick. So, one more time, it's like that. And this will be for me, this hat. So, that is all of my finished objects. Oh, what else? Okay, works in progress. Last week, I talked to you, I'm sorry if I keep looking over there. Last week, the camera was over there. This week, it's over there. But I'll get the hang of it. Last week, I had talked to you about making a hat out of the Knit Picks yarn. So if you remember, it was these 3 colors for my girlfriend who has throat cancer. And she had specifically requested to have the support ribbon on the hat. And it is the throat and neck cancer ribbon is a dual colored ribbon. So it's not just solid pink like the breast cancer one. Which kind of presented a challenge when I was trying to knit the hat. Because it's more like color work than it is. I mean, you're using 3 colors at a time instead of just 2. So, to make it easier, I went ahead and just knit the ribbon part in, flat. So back and forth. Because if you go in the round, then I would have 2 colors that I would have to travel around the entire hat. Which you could do. I mean, you could do almost like a checkerboard pattern and do, you know, 2 stitches in one color, 2 stitches in the other. So that way there's no floats going across the back. But I didn't want to do that. So I decided I would knit it flat, and then after I finished with the color work section, I would just join it in the round, and then continue knitting in the round like a normal hat. So I'll show you what I mean. This is the ribbon, like this. So right here is the beginning of the round, and then I immediately, this is over 25 stitches, so I framed it. On the edge there's 5 stitches in the gray, and then the chart, and then 4 stitches in the gray. That way I had 1 extra stitch here too that I could eat up when I was sewing it up. So that is the throat and neck cancer ribbon. And to show you what I mean, see on the back how tidy that is? So I like this much better than having floats going across the whole entire hat. And then just to make it kind of fun, I did just 2 rows of stripes of the 3 colors. So I have just joined it in the round. I just tacked up this seam right here just temporarily, so it's not sewn in nicely or anything, but just so I could have an accurate idea of how the hat was going to go. So it's about 4 inches now. I did like 1.5 inches of ribbing at the bottom, and yeah, so it'll be like that. And then on the other side is just straight. And there's a ton of ends I have to weave in. But, yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about that one. It's super fun. Charts are always so addicting to knit, because it's like, okay, just one more row, just one more row. You know, I just, like when you're working on the ribbon, okay, I just want to join them together. And then I just want to separate them. So the first half of the hat just flew. And last night I was sitting in bed. Tim, my husband, works nights, and so he was gone. And since we're going to Hawaii tomorrow, after the wedding, we're going to Pearl Harbor. And so I thought it would be fitting to watch the Pearl Harbor movie, which is one of my favorites, and I haven't seen it in forever. So I popped that in my laptop last night and just sat in bed and was knitting on my hat and watching Pearl Harbor. But I had to turn it off because I was falling asleep. So that's the throat and neck cancer awareness hat. And I used a chart. I don't remember what pattern it was, but I linked it on Ravelry. So if you guys want, if you need to knit an awareness ribbon for anything, it was a free pattern. And it was like a whole color work hat, you know, and it had, I don't know, breast cancer awareness writing on it. But I just stole the ribbon portion of it. And yeah, I liked it. So it worked out pretty well. Okay, that is that. And my drink of the day today is Starbucks. I'm drinking a pumpkin mocha with an added shot. I had a free reward at Starbucks. And, okay, so funny story and tangent. My husband had told me that he was all packed for Hawaii over the weekend. And so I thought all I had to do was pack my stuff, you know, and throw in, like, our last-minute toiletries, like our toothbrush and all that stuff. And so, last night, I went to go pack my stuff, and I opened the suitcase, and there was not really much of anything packed. So, my husband had packed his nice outfit that he's wearing to the wedding, his swim trunks, and like 8 pairs of boxers. And that was it. Oh, and his sandals. And that was it. And so, he was at work, and so I wasn't sure, you know, if he had a pile of the rest of his clothes somewhere else, or, you know, what he was planning on doing. So I emailed him at work, and he's like, oh, you know, maybe I need to throw in some more things. So, oh, the cats just flew across the 2 lofts. So needless to say, he needed to throw in a few more things. So last night, I got together, you know, the rest of his clothes that I thought he would need for Hawaii, but he only has 1 pair of pants packed, and I could not find shorts. I mean, I couldn't find any other Hawaii-appropriate pants. So, this morning, when he got off work, I asked him, I said, you know, like, where are your shorts? And he's like, oh, I don't have any. So, guys, it's the day before we go to Hawaii, and the guy needs shorts. So, this morning, I had to drive into town, so it's like 40 minutes away, and I went to Target, and I got him some shorts, and I really hope they fit, because he's sleeping, so he can't try them on. So, I got him some shorts. I got us, you know, the little travel-on toiletries, and then I got Starbucks. So, so I had the free reward. So it's a mocha with pumpkin and an added shot because I'm exhausted and I still have a lot to do today. So, yeah, and it was free. So you can add in as many shots as you want for your free reward. And, yeah, might as well take advantage of it. works in progress. This is my Naughty Acorn bag. Heather is a girlfriend here in Hot Springs who she is dabbling in dyeing her own yarn. And she makes these gorgeous project bags. So she made me this one. It was a custom order because I wanted something kind of farmy. So it has like the little whimsical girls and little barns. And I mean, there's ducks. So how perfect is that? I love bags when they have straps because I like to put them on my wrist. You can hang them, you know, like if you're at Starbucks and you need to go to the bathroom, you can hang it on the little hook. So I just, pretty much any project bag I buy either needs to be drawstring, you know, because that's the same idea where I can put my hands in the strings, or they need to have a strap on it. But this is my dotted ray shawl, and last week I couldn't show you it because I was in the middle of the row. So I finished the row. Okay, I'll see if this is the right side. And it's like this. So you start here at this way. It's all short rows. It's Stephen West, and in true Stephen West fashion, I mean, he uses a lot of the same elements over and over, which I love, because once you understand it, you've got it down. So there's an I-cord edging, which is one of his favorite things, and short row wedges, which is another of his favorite things. When I knit Stephen West shawls, I kind of like to use the brights and crazy colors, kind of like in honor of him. So these are all either stash yarns or leftover project yarns. So this was just stash. This gray is left over from some socks I knit. This neon green is left over from some socks. The same gray. This is hedgehog fibers, and I made socks out of these. Now, I don't remember if I talked about it, but I made a pair of socks out of this really fun hedgehog, like I was super excited about it. And you can kind of see the difference in this. You see how here it's way more saturated and there's a lot more bright colors, and then down here it's more pastel-y. So I had knit 2 at a time socks, and one turned out well, they both turned out fine, but one was bright and it had the neons, like there's, I don't know if you can see, but like the neon green and then the hot pinks and the bright blues. So one was saturated and fun colors, and the other was kind of more like this, where it was the same color family, but just pastel-y and muted. And so the socks, they look like sisters, but not identical twins. And I was so disappointed because it was my first hedgehog fibers to knit with, and I'm just not very happy with it. I know some people it doesn't bother them, and that's fine, but it bothered me. So I figured in a shawl it's not as noticeable, but you can still see how it's starting to go from the brights down to the pastels. So, and then now I'm starting over with the stripe sequence of the blue. So it'll go blue and then neon green, and then it'll end on the gray because I don't have any more of the hedgehog. And the pattern has, like, each one of the grays is one wedge. And then the colors, I'm doing 2 wedges. So it's 2 wedges of blue, 1 of gray. 2 of green, 1 of gray. 2 of hedgehog, 1 of gray. And then it'll be 2 blue. This pattern is, like I said, it's super fun. You could use all different colors for each wedge, which I've seen a lot of them. My goal in making this was first to make it, but also to use up some of my scraps. So I wanted to do double wedges, so that way I could just use up more of the scraps. So, I love it. This one's going to go to Hawaii with me, so hopefully I'll get to work on it, and you guys will see more progress next week, or in 2 weeks when I'm back. But it's to the point where, like, the rows are getting super long, and each wedge, they only get longer, and you go back and forth and back and forth. So, and it's fun. It's mindless. It's kind of like car knitting. It might be airplane knitting. But yeah, that will go to Hawaii with me. And I love, like, at the very beginning, it's got, like, all the wedges are just little. And so I think that's fun because you see them all together. But that is Dotted Rays by Stephen West. It's a pay-for pattern, like most of his. I still have quite a bit of the hedgehog. Not much left. I don't think it's enough to do a wedge because now the wedges are getting big. So I think I'll just make it in minis and then send it out in some of my swaps. The green is Nitpicks, and then I don't know what the blue and the gray are. But they're in my project page, so if you're interested, you can find them there. Okay. Up there. This one. Oh, these are my Nitpicks Felici socks. They didn't get much work done on them. I don't remember where I was last week, but it's the Mina Phillips, the Cobblestones pattern in her Beyond Vanilla Part 1. So it's just like that. So one side has that, one side is plain. I showed these last week, so I'm not going to spend too much time on them. But I did cast on the second one, and so I'm going to knit them concurrently. So I'm going to knit this one to the point that this one's at, and then I'll keep going on this one and do the same. So that way they're never too far apart. And then I'll turn both the heels at the same time and then work the foot. So these will also be coming to Hawaii with me, probably. I kept planning out Hawaii projects because, so we're there for 8 days. Well, we're traveling for 8 days. So I thought between all the plane flights and the sitting on the beach knitting, hopefully there's beach knitting, and, you know, just the, I don't know, traveling time, like the waiting in airports and the waiting for your taxi and all that. I wanted to have a lot of projects to bring, but I keep finishing them all. So, I mean, now we're down to the wire, so there's not going to be any finished projects tonight. So whatever I planned today is actually going to Hawaii with me. But, you'll see in a second, I wanted to take the 3 peas in a pod shawl, but I think it might be done tonight, or it might just, I might finish it on the plane tomorrow. So, I keep saying, oh, this is going to be a Hawaii project, and then it gets finished before Hawaii. So, socks are coming, so I'll take the socks, I'll take the dotted rays, I think I'll leave the hat here, just because with the 3 different balls, it's not very conducive to, like, small space knitting. You know, it's easier to spread out at the table or on the bed, because you have the 3 balls and they're getting tangled and it's a mess. So, that'll stay there. But, that's my socks. Okay, my last working project. It is, excuse me. Okay. The 3 peas in a pod shawl. Now, the Grocery Girls are doing a knit along for this. I know Legacy Knits is doing a knit along for this. I'm sure there's a ton of other podcasters that are doing this knit along. It's also abbreviated as the 3 pips. And I got the pattern last week. And I was thinking, you know, I'll get around to it. Like, it looks fun. Maybe I'll wait to see, you know, it's a mystery cow. So, by the time I got the pattern, it was already week 2. So the first clue and the second clue were out. And I thought, you know, maybe I'll wait and see how it looks once it's finished and see if I really want to do it. But I couldn't wait to cast on. So, at Knit Group last week, which was Thursday, I cast on. And I love it. I love it. It has got a lot of love since Thursday. So, let's see. Can you guys hear the ducks? They're excited about something. Hang on, I'm gonna go see if somebody's here. And we are actually expecting the electric company to come out and put our telephone poles in the ground. So yesterday, okay, for those of you who don't know, we live in a tiny house, and it was supposed to be off-grid, and I'm going to do the sped-up version, because I said all this last week, but we were going to be off-grid, and then it's way too hot. We're here in Arkansas, and it is hot and humid and miserable, so we decided we would go ahead and get electric. So we had to put in our own electric pole here at the house, and then the electric company comes in and puts in a bunch of poles going back up to the road, because we're so far down the road. So yesterday they came. They don't call you and tell you they're coming. They just show up and do whatever it is they have to do and then leave. So we had no idea they were here yesterday. But they came and they dropped off all of the poles that are coming along, like, down the driveway. So I'm assuming that means they're coming pretty soon to put them in. but I have no idea. I don't have a phone number to contact whoever it is that's coming out. So we're kind of just at their mercy. So now I'm really hoping that by the time we get back from Hawaii, we might have electricity in the tiny house. And that would just, oh my goodness, it would make things so much easier. Because it's so hot. Like, right now, I'm just sweating like crazy. And it probably doesn't help that I'm drinking hot coffee. But it would just be so nice to have air conditioning in the tiny house. So, in the meantime, while we are waiting for the electricity, we are living in our camper, which is set up over my grandparents' house, and it has air conditioning, you know, and all the amenities. So, we're not really suffering right now. We just can't be in the house, like, be in our tiny house with all of our stuff. And, you know, all the animals are over here. It's on a different piece of property. So, all the animals are over here. So, I just can't wait to be settled in the tiny house with the animals in air conditioning. So, I'm expecting, you know, them to just show up anytime today. If they show up today. But anyways, okay, the 3 Pips MCal. So, it's a mystery knit-along. Everybody's calling it the 3 Pips. I think the hashtag is hashtag 3 Pips MCal. And you start, you know, down here, like with 3 stitches. And it has this little picot edging as you go along. And it's super easy. I won't say how you do it because it is a paid-for pattern. But it's not like a typical, it's not a picot bind-off. So, it's just worked in as you go, which makes me super happy. And I think they'll be a lot more obvious once I block it. Well, once I finish it and then block it. But, so it starts here, and it's all in the blue. And then it goes, to blue and cream chunky stripes. And then it goes from the chunky stripes to blue and cream little stripes. And then I threw in, so you have a third color, but I went for, it's like neon green. And the color, it's Black Trillium Fiber Arts, in the colorway Lightning Bug. So I thought that was super appropriate. And then you're supposed to have, okay, so it goes chunky stripes, 3 little stripes, 3 big stripes, and then you're supposed to have, or 3 big stripes of the green, but instead of having 3 big green ones, I threw in 1 blue. So that one's supposed to be green, but I just felt like incorporating the blue a little more. So I'm on my last big stripe now of the green, and then I have 1 big stripe of the cream, and then the third section is like a lace section. So the pattern calls for you to do it back in your color A, which is my blue. But I think I'm going to do it the lace section in a cream, like in this cream. And then I'll probably bind off in the blue. So that way it will just, you won't have blue at both ends, even though the blue's gorgeous. I think it'd be pretty to have the lace, the cream lace section. And you probably see it better since it's a lighter color, not so dark. And then I'll just bind off in the blue to bring it back, you know, to incorporate it back in. But it's huge, it's getting long. I love it. You know, like, you can already pretty much wrap it around if it wasn't on my needles. You know, so it'll be like that. And then I'll have a big old lace section here. So, this will definitely come to Hawaii if I don't finish it tonight. I don't know how much knitting time I'll have. What did I do? Tonight, since I still have to finish packing, and I might find more things, like we don't have shorts. So, 3 Pips, Cal, I love it. It's super fun. Yeah. And it's in my Hawaii bag, right here. That I made, and don't pay too close attention to the bag, because it is nowhere near like the bag I'm going to show you. Alrighty. Okay, I have show notes today. Upcoming. So what I'm going to knit in Hawaii. I'm going to work on the dotted rays shawl. I'm going to work on the 3 Pips. I'll take my socks in case I get to them. But I'm also going to cast on a specific trip project. So I showed you last week the Hawaiian yarn that I got from Pineapple Yarns. It's called Beachcomber, I believe, still. And I'm going to knit the Close to You shawl. It just uses 1 shawl of fingering weight, and so I thought that'll be perfect. It's not really a shawl, it's more like a shawl scarf, kind of like the 3 Pips. I'm gonna pull it up and see if I can show you. Oops. Okay. Can you guys see it? Sorry, there's a glare. Like that. So it's called Close to You, and I think it'll be really pretty in that cream with the little speckles of color. They're not bright colors, but it'll just be a staple piece, you know, that I can throw on with whatever I'm wearing. So that's gonna be my Hawaii project. I have the needles ready, the pattern ready, the yarn's been ready since I got it. I skeined it up like that night. So I think I'll have a lot of knitting. I'm probably packing way more than I need to, but I do not want to be stuck without knitting, especially like on the plane ride back, you know, to just not have knitting. So last time I flew to California, my flight got delayed for 6 hours, and I mean, I would have been miserable if I didn't have my knitting. So I always overpack on I might even underpack on my clothes and overpack on my knitting. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to be knitting coming up. So look for that on the next podcast. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay, so let's go into stash acquisitions, because this ties into what I'm going to be knitting in the future. Yesterday, I had to take my girlfriend up to Little Rock for a doctor's appointment, and right next to her doctor's office is a yarn shop. So we both went to the yarn shop, and then see how this is just getting bigger? I sat at the yarn shop and knit while she went over to the doctor's, you know, and had her appointment. So I got a lot of knitting time in, and it's not a yarn shop that I normally go to, so it was fun to kind of sit and talk with new people, and the longer I sat, the more yarn kind of accumulated on my pile. But the first things I got, like I showed you with the Cozy Head Happy Head, are pom-poms. So I got the one it's like a brownish grayish color, and then this one is just a white. And it's the faux fur. And they come with little strings so that you can tie them on, like this is tied on to the tag, but so you can tie them on to your hat or to whatever. I know a lot of them come with like a key ring, but that doesn't help me when I'm trying to attach it to a hat. So these little strings here, there's 4 of them, so you can anchor it in 4 different directions, so it's not going to go anywhere. So I got that one. Again, they were like $3 because she just wanted to get rid of them. And I wish I would have just bought the whole little canister of them. But I was kind of already over my yarn budget. So I got some pom-poms. And I got 2 more skeins. Now, I have 4 of these in my stash. It's just an undyed, natural, it's shepherd's wool. So there's like 250 yards of a worsted weight yarn. There's like that. I mean, nothing exciting, but it's super squishy, and I'm going to be knitting a sweater. So last year, my girlfriend and we knit the same sweater in different colorways, and it was so fun, and they turned out super cute, and I'll try to find a picture of both of us. We knit the Duchess sweater, which was one of the Rhinebeck sweaters. So this year, we're going to knit another Rhinebeck sweater, and it is, oops, you guys can't see. Sorry, there. The Spin Raglan. So it's just, I mean, it's not really too exciting, but it's going to be fun to knit it with a friend, you know, so we'll both be working on it at the same time. And I think what I'm going to do, see, there's the big window, so you guys can't, look, there's the window reflection. Anyways, I have 6 of these now, which is more than enough yardage to knit the sweater. But what I'm debating is, do I dye them all up in a color that I want? Because they didn't have 6 of any one color, and even if they did, it would have been super expensive. As a yarn, this was only $14 for a skein, so it's not that bad. But to buy 6 skeins all at once would have just been a lot. And I already had 4 of the undyed in my stash, so I picked up 2 more to be on the safe side. And I'm just debating what I want to do. I can dye them up. I really want a sweater in like a mustardy, sunshiny yellow color. Not like maybe like a lemon color, but not at all a pastel color. And not like a dirty yellow color. Yeah, so maybe like lemony. But not too bright. I mean, just classic, kind of like in the picture. Just classic, you know, I can throw it on with whatever. So, I've never dyed anything, But my girlfriend is the Heather of the Naughty Acorn who did that project bag for me. She dyes yarn, and so she said we could do a dyeing day. But then they're all already wound up. And so in order to dye them, I would have to reskein them, which would be kind of complicated. I mean, I could do it, but it would just be annoying. Or do I have a bright green color. So in a worsted, I think it's Malabrigo. So I could do, you know, the collar in the green and the cuffs and the waistband in the green, and then just do the rest of the sweater in the undyed color. I mean, it would be totally neutral with the pop of green. So I don't know. We're not casting on until mid-October or maybe even later. So I have plenty of time to decide. But I went ahead and picked up the 2 skeins so that way I know I have enough yarn in my stash. And now it's just a matter of, do I use it, you know, in the cream form, or do I take a chance and dye it? Because if I dye it and I hate it, like, that's a lot of yarn to not be happy with. So, let me know what you guys think. Would you be adventurous and dye it? Would you, because I have 6 skeins, so it's not like I can just dye one, you know, like they all 6 have to match, or match close enough that I could use them in a sweater. So, would you guys dye it? Would you knit it with a contrasting color? I'll show you, I don't think I have it here. I'll show you the green that I could use. I mean, I love the green, so I'm kind of tempted to do it that way. But I also kind of want a yellow sweater, and this is my chance. So, what would you guys do? Tell me. Let me know in the comments. Let me know on Ravelry. I would love other people's opinions. So, these kind of look like boobs. Anyways. That was my acquisitions. Oh! Okay, no. I got some other minis at the yarn shop. But I can't show them because I'm doing like 4 different swaps right now. And so they're for my swap partners. So I don't want to ruin the surprise in case any of my swap partners are watching this. So, I got some fun minis, and those are going out in swaps. And, yeah, that was all from the yarn shop. Okay, from Etsy. So you guys know that I'm doing my colorwork blanket, and I need to fill in some of the color squares. So apparently, I did not knit with very much pink fingering. Well, bright pink fingering. I had a few pastel pinks, which is what I used in the unicorn. So, this one is from, maybe I should take it out of the bag. Sunshine Yarn Fun by Catherine Santana. And it's just 4 fingering minis. So these will definitely go in my blanket. They're just, one's more of a variegated, one's more of a tonal. They're showing up, I don't know, more orangey. But it's like a pink. This one might go in one of my blankets, or it might go as a swap. I don't know. This is kind of like the wild card. I don't know if I can use it or not. It might be too pink for my neutrals, but it might be too neutral for my pinks. So, I don't know what I'll do with that one. And then, I definitely need more yellows. So yellow is going in my yellow squares, which I haven't started yet. So, that was just a little minis. I try to buy, you know, just a few here and there, so it's not, I don't have a crazy Etsy bill. And that way, this will take me a little while to get worked into my blanket. So, there's those. And they have to be in the plastic bag, or the cats will find them, and they just think mini skeins are the best, because their little claws grab it, and then it flies up, and they think it's really fun. Okay, speaking of minis, I made a new friend on Etsy. I first found her, the shop is called Valkyrie Fibers, and I first found the shop because, well, it kind of struck my eye because my dog's name is Valkyrie, and I had never really heard of Valkyrie before my husband named the dog Valkyrie, and it's some ancient, I don't know if it's Romans, or I don't know. It's old. The Valkyries were like the demigods who would go to the battlefield and decide who lives and who dies. I guess, maybe. Tell me if I'm wrong. So, my husband wanted to name our guard dog Valkyrie because she's going to decide who dies and who lives. So, like if any, predators or any strange animals show up, Valkyrie's the one who decides. So the other two dogs would just say, kill them all, which is why they're in a 6-foot chain link pen. They like themselves, and they are together, so they like each other, but they do not like chickens. They really like to eat chickens, but they don't like to have chickens running around. So Valkyrie she's a Great Pyrenees Anatolian Shepherd mix. So she is a guard dog breed. She is not what's the word? Like, she will defend her ground. I don't know what the word is. She's not like a pit bull. Like, she's not an attack dog. She will just bark and bark and bark and hope she scares you away. And I think if something came into the goat pen, she would kill it. But you can't let her out, to go chase a squirrel because she has no drive to go kill anything. She just wants to keep her goats protected. Which is exactly why we wanted her. We don't necessarily want a dog that wants to kill things. But goats are really expensive. And we have a lot of coyotes and predators. And the goats are going to be having baby goats in the spring, hopefully. And so baby goats are they're so helpless and so easy to die. And so we figured, the guard dog she's not obviously going to save them all from dying. Hopefully none of them will die. But she will keep predators away from them and keep them safe that way. So that is why we have Valkyries out with the goats. Long story, that is how I found this dyer. And then she lives in South Lake Tahoe. And growing up in California, we went to Tahoe every summer. We would go camping, and we would go river rafting down the Truckee River. And every winter, we would go skiing multiple times up at Tahoe. So there was just too many connections not to buy some minis from her. And so I thought, you know what? Okay, I'll just buy some minis. And if I like it, I can buy some yarn. Because sometimes you never know with a dyer. Oh my goodness, guys. She did not disappoint. So this is her fandom series. And I don't know what fandom it is. This one is called Riley. It's R''Yleh. And I love it. This is going in my neutrals. Oh, sorry. Can you guys see it? Look. There's teal and there's like lime green and gray. Right there is pretty good. So I just love it. It's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. It's a 20 gram. See, there's fandom fibers, Riley. Yeah, so this one I'm definitely keeping. That's going into my neutral blanket as soon as possible. Probably right after Hawaii. Okay. Does this not just look like a pretty glass lake like Lake Tahoe? It's got all the different blues. Sorry. Look right there. See, there's like dark blues and light blues. It's just gorgeous. And they're super soft and super fun. Yeah. So, I think because I've already done my blue squares and because now I'm working on my neutral blanket, as much as I love this one, I think it's going to go into a swap. I really think somebody else would have so much fun with it. Be able to put it to better use than I can at this moment. I'm already thinking about starting another cozy memory blanket after I finish these two. So if I can't bear to part with it, I'll just save it till my next blanket. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll make scrappy socks. Guys, this is so hard. I'm doing 4 swaps. So it's a lot of minis to buy or make or gift. And I feel so selfish because I just want to keep all the yarn and I don't want to give it out. But at the same time, I signed myself up for these swaps. And I know I'm going to get good yarn in return. But every yarn, like every mini that I buy, I'm like, ugh, but I just want to keep it. So, there's her. Can you guys see her logo? Valkyrie Fibers. Blue. Gorgeous. It reminds me perfectly of Lake Tahoe. And, I have a super special bond with Lake Tahoe. Because my mom has lymphoma cancer. And she was diagnosed when I was first a freshman in high school. She's done radiation and chemo and all of that awful stuff. And because lymphoma is a blood cancer, she will never be cured of it. I mean, unless they completely drain all her blood and give her new blood, which isn't going to happen. So it's a matter of containing it and maintaining, and not, she has tumors, in her abdomen. So it's just a matter of not letting the cancer spread or grow. So she joined years ago. It might have been right when she first got diagnosed. But as long as I can remember, she's been on the Masters swimming team. And she does all these open water swims. Back home, my parents live in a beach town, and so there's always ocean swims. But she swam across Lake Tahoe, which, if you guys have ever seen Lake Tahoe, or if you haven't, go look it up. It's huge. It was a huge ordeal. She did it to celebrate 11 years of having cancer. So that's like even more of a reason why I want to keep the blue. I don't know. Because it's Lake Tahoe color. I don't know. But anyways, Lake Tahoe is super special. Yeah. So, we'll see. I might just order more, like a full skein. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll order a full skein and then use it for something. And then I won't mind parting with the minis. Okay, so there's those two. Plus, how fun is this one? Look at that. It's like, it reminds me of like a disco party. The colorway is Mountains of Madness. And guys, what is this from? I don't know. I mean, I could probably look on her Etsy. We don't have internet at the tiny house, so I can't look right now. But, oh, look at all those colors. Doesn't it remind you of like roller skating disco parties? And it's got the stellina in it, so it's sparkly like the disco ball. I don't know. And right here, there's even like purple hiding in there. So, this is definitely, it's way too bright for either of my blankets. It's gorgeous, and I think it's so fun, but I'm going to pass it on for one of my swap partners. So, since I'm doing 4, you won't know who you are, who's going to get it, but somebody will get this one in their package. So, okay, those are my Valkyrie fibers. And now we're Instagram friends. Guys, okay, that's another thing. It has been so much fun getting new Instagram followers and chatting with you all. Yeah, in the week since I podcasted, I have a lot more friends. And I really do think you guys are friends. But friends in the sense, like, I've never really met you, but I talk to you now. So we chit-chat, and yeah, it's just fun to meet people. And that's exactly why I wanted to start this podcast, is to meet people within the knitting community and just get to share the fibery goodness. Okay, last acquisition. And I don't want to say this is my favorite, but I think this was the one I was most excited about. You guys have heard of, there goes a bead, not from the bag. You guys have heard of Bags by Awesome Granny, because pretty much all of the podcasters sing her praises. And, okay, I kind of have a project bag addiction. And I kept putting it off, thinking, I don't really need another project bag. But I do, but I don't. And there was one at the beginning of summer, and it had fireflies, and there were kids, and they were trying to catch the fireflies, like in nets. And I just thought it was so cute. But I was also trying to be mindful of the budget. I was like, oh, I'll just wait, I won't get it. But I just kept thinking about it, and kept thinking about it, and kept thinking about it. And usually, if I think about something that much, I go back and get it. If I really want something, and then I'll put it in my cart, and then I'll let it sit for a couple days. And if I don't think about it, or I come back and I'm kind of ambivalent about it, I won't get it. But if I just keep thinking about it and keep thinking about it, and it didn't help that I kept seeing it on Instagram. So she had a coupon code. So you guys want the coupon code. The one that I found that was active currently is over on Legacy Knits. So go watch their podcast or go look in the Ravelry forums and you guys will find a coupon code. I got 15% off. Which, when there's something that I really want and then you give me a coupon, it kind of just seals the deal. Guys, look at, I got it. Isn't that just the cutest? Come on. Okay, and look at her attention to detail. There's a strap, and she perfectly lined it up with this little girl with a lightning bug in a jar. And then the other side is like lightning bugs and the plants. And this side, it has the kids again. And there's a little ring here. And, everything she did, it just has such attention to detail. Instead of just having a plain ring, on the other side, it's engraved. And it says, hope, trust, love, dream, and then it just repeats those over. It's not just like the most basic thing from Hobby Lobby. Like, she spent so much time and thought that went into this bag. And it's huge. It takes up the whole screen. It's like big. So it's gonna house my Cozy Memories blanket because it's quickly outgrowing the project bag that it's in. And this one is plenty big enough. So I'm so excited. Okay, so I had told her that, when I checked out, I had told her that I just started a podcast, and I was, if I liked it, I was going to show it on the podcast. And so, guys, she sent me the matching Notions bag. And it's just as cute. Look, it has a little ring, and it says love on it. I don't know if you guys can see it. Love. And it's got the little girl. And then, so inside, there's her cards. So it's Bags by Awesome Granny, and it's Grannie on Etsy. And then there's a progress keeper that has her, her little logo on it. Sorry, the glare is hard because it's like a bubble, so it's hard to show. But it's got a project bag with knitting needles, and it says Bags by Awesome Granny, and then it says respect your knitting. So how cool is that? So, yeah, it was just so incredibly sweet of her to throw in the little Notions bag. And this, it's a good size. It's like that. I'll show it to you on the inside of this one. Look, the inside has fireflies. Can you guys see that? Look, there's her note. She left me a super sweet note, which was fun. It says, Bags by Awesome Granny, respect your knitting. She got the firefly. Like, how fun! I don't know. I'm speechless. Sorry, I'm mumbling. I'm just so excited about this project bag. So, I might take this to Hawaii, and I can put my, 2 other little project bags in it. And then when I get back, it might house my Cozy Memory blanket, because the blanket's not coming to Hawaii. But, guys, everything, the stitches are so even, and it just lines up. Look how well she lined up. Like, you can't even tell there's a seam right there. Because everything is such good craftsmanship. So, I highly recommend Bags by Awesome Granny. There's another one in her shop, and it's like a homesteading one. And so, I think it has a grandma, and she's out in the garden with her granddaughter. And there's, sorry, the cats are going. There's chickens, and they're weeding their garden, and it is so cute. So, I told myself I'm not allowed to buy anything more until after Hawaii. And then we'll see how the Hawaii budget went. And if we did really well in Hawaii, then I might be able to buy a project bag. If not, it'll have to wait till next month. And October is my birthday month, so maybe I'll use some birthday money and get the garden homesteading grandma one. Because we live with my grandma, well, on their property. So, yeah. I'm sure you'll be seeing more Bags by Awesome Granny in my future. Because I just love it. Okay, so, right behind me is the wall, and the chickens are on the other side. When there's bugs on the wall, the chickens peck at the bugs, but it sounds like somebody's knocking at the door. So, I know the dogs are barking. So I'm always like, is somebody here? Nobody's here. Nobody comes to see me. Probably because they don't know where I live, and our road just looks like you're driving into the forest. Anyways, okay, a couple things I wanted to mention. Let me see where we are on my couple different podcasts I watched. And I'm gonna I'm going to blend these segments because one of the podcasts I watch is called The Knitted Towel, and it's Jessamine, and she lives, I want to say in Austin, Texas. I know it's in Texas, and I'm pretty sure it's in Austin. She is the cutest little thing. She's got 2 little kids, so she's knitting Christmas gifts and kid things, and you guys should go check her out. It's The Knitted Towel, or just Knitted Towel. And she had posted a question on the Ravelry forums, and it said, are you a person who knits or a knitter who persons? And I don't remember if it was for a giveaway, but I just thought, like, that just struck a chord. I am definitely a knitter who persons. Yeah, I mean, I would much rather sit at home and knit all by myself all day, every day. Well, maybe I want somebody to come and talk to me. But I have a lot of knitting by myself time because my husband works at nights and then he sleeps during the day. And so if he's home during the day, I feel like I want to be quiet, so he can nap. And like I said, we're in the camper, so it's not like I can go into the living room and turn on the TV and he won't hear me. It's all one big camper. So anytime you move, like the camper kind of rocks. So I just feel like I want to be extra quiet. I don't have to, but I want to because, he works 12-hour shifts and then he comes home and he's exhausted. And so he works like 2 on, 2 off, 2 on, 3 off. So like last night, he worked last night and then he'll come home, he'll sleep today, and then he goes back tonight. And tonight he's actually working till midnight because our flight leaves at 6:30 in the morning. And so he's working till midnight. He'll come home, and then we have to leave at like 3 to get up to Little Rock, and check into the airport. But anyways, I try to be quiet during the day if it's his day in between when he works. So I sit at the computer, and I put on my little headphones, and I love watching YouTube knitting podcasts because I feel like I'm there with girlfriends knitting, but at the same time I'm being perfectly quiet and he can't hear me. So, Jessamine, the Knitted Towel. Are you a person who knits or a knitter who persons? I am a knitter who persons. And that got me thinking. One of my other things I like to do, if I'm not hanging out with people, is I like to go sit at Starbucks. And again, I take my iPad and I take my headphones and I take my knitting. And I can sit at Starbucks for hours and hours. I get an iced tea. So it's like, I got one here because it's also really hot. I get an iced tea, and if you have a gold card, you get free refills. So I can sit at Starbucks, I can knit, and they refill my tea for free. So it's like a $3 outing for me. Which, is just, it's cheap, it's affordable, it's in the air conditioning, that's I guess originally why I started going to Starbucks was because the tiny house was way too hot. Tim was sleeping in the camper, and I just needed to get out and be in the air conditioning. So I started going to Starbucks. And now it's like everybody at Starbucks knows, oh, it's Jessica the knitter. And I have met so many people through knitting in public and at Starbucks. And I've gotten commission offers, oh, could you knit me a baby hat? Or could you do this? And even if I'm sitting at Starbucks and I've got, my headphones on, people will come up to me and start talking. And I don't mind, I have to pause my thing and take off my headphones so I can hear them. But headphones don't deter people from talking to you. But everybody, so many people will come up and say, oh, my grandma knits, or, oh, what are you making? And if they're regulars, they'll be like, oh, did you finish that, whatever it was you were working on last week? And I'm like, oh, maybe that means I'm here too much. But it is such a way to meet people. Sitting at Starbucks, typically the guy next to me wouldn't start talking to me if I was just reading a book. But he's going to strike up a conversation. Well, not everybody, but a lot of them strike up a conversation because you're knitting. And because it is such a down home thing to do, it reminds them of their grandma or their aunt. Or usually it reminds them of a happy memory. And so it's just fun to see who chit-chats with you. and you really get to learn a lot about people, and I've made a lot of Facebook friends, that they were people that were in Starbucks, and I got talking to, now we're friends on Facebook. And also, okay, just knitting in public in general. When we first moved to Arkansas, my grandparents and I went on a walking tour of the little town we live in. So, we're nearby Hot Springs, but we live in a little town. A little town has nothing. And so, we went on a walking tour to get the history of the little town. And I took my knitting. And it was in, a drawstring bag, so it hung down from my wrist. And I was just working on socks or something. Because you would walk, half a block, and they would sit and tell you about the old buildings or what used to be here. And so, I could knit while I was walking, but then you're standing there, and so I have to be knitting. So I was knitting, and this lady was just kind of looking at me, and looking at me, and looking at me. And she wasn't smiling, but she wasn't glaring, and I told my grandma, I was like, that lady's looking at me funky. Well, she comes up to me at some point, and she's like, I knit too. And so that got us started talking, and now she's one of my close friends. She cuts my hair, but we would never have met or never have connected if I wasn't knitting. And so it's just, I don't know, a lot of people frown upon knitting in public, you're on a walking tour, you should be walking. But to me, I'm not going to take it on a strenuous hike. Well, not that I do strenuous hikes to begin with. But if it's somewhere where I can be knitting, I'm probably going to be knitting. And that's how I meet people. Another example is one of my best friends here, Hannah. I was at the DMV. I don't know what they call it here. In California, it's the DMV. But I was at the DMV when we first moved here. I was waiting to register our vehicles. And so I was just sitting there. And the DMV in California is infamous for taking forever. So I had brought my knitting, and I'm sitting there knitting, and this girl comes and sits next to me. And I was like, there's a lot of empty chairs, she could be sitting in an empty chair. But then she starts talking, and she's like, I knit too. And she told me about the local yarn shop. So where our little town, right south of us, about 20 minutes, there's a local yarn shop. Hot Springs had the local yarn shop that I worked at, but it closed. And then Little Rock, which is directly north of us, has 2 yarn shops, which is where I was yesterday. So she tells me about the yarn shop that's right south of us, and we exchanged numbers. And now we hang out, and we knit together. And I would never have met her if I wasn't knitting and if she hadn't come up to me and said, hey, I knit too. So moral of the story is knit in public, guys. You'll make friends, you'll get to talk to a lot of people, and also, if you see somebody knitting in public, go up and say, hey, I knit too, because that could be your next best friend, and you never know until you just go up and introduce yourself. And I mean, the worst thing they can say is oh, cool, and not want to do anything further with you. But you'll never know unless you try, or unless you're knitting in public, just do your thing, guys. Yeah, so I know it's a long tangent, and I answered it in a short version on Jessamyn's forum on Ravelry, but I just thought that was a neat little conversation piece that I would bring up, because I have so many friends that I've met via knitting in public. What else did I want to say? Oh, podcasts I'm watching. Okay, first off, there might be a big truck outside. I'll go see in a minute. First off, thank you to Jenny from the Lucky Jenny podcast. She gave me the sweetest shout out. Yeah, she's such a fun podcaster. She is so enthusiastic. I think she's on her 6th or 7th podcast now. She's got the cutest little dog as her co-host. And she's got kids, and she is learning to knit socks. And she just said the sweetest things about me on her podcast. So thank you so much, Jenny. That really meant a lot, especially after only 1 episode. Yeah, so thank you. I don't know if I heard a car door. Anyways, I'm not going to get up. Also, okay, so I'm doing 4 swaps. and one of them is through the Spicy Homemaker, which is another super fun podcast y'all should go watch. She's been around for quite a while and has a lot of fun podcasts, so you can go watch all her back episodes. But she's hosting an Advent swap. And so in December, you're supposed to send, before December, you're supposed to send your partner 25 mini skeins, individually wrapped, so that way every day of December leading up to Christmas, they have a little mini skein to open. So I signed up. She's doing a large one and a small one. So there's 25 minis, and then there's like a 5 or 6 mini one. So I signed up for both, so I have 2 different partners. But for the big swap, my partner is Jenny from the Lucky Jenny podcast. So she's going to be totally fun to spoil. And I feel like I kind of have an advantage because I can watch her podcast and stalk her without having to ask her questions. So, Lucky Jenny podcast, watch that one. Watch Spicy Homemaker. And then I have a podcast twin. Kay from The Crazy Sock Lady. Yeah, The Crazy Sock Lady. She did her maiden podcast on the same day that I first recorded mine. And guys, we are so similar. So pretty much everything she knits is either on my queue, or I love it, or I queued it after seeing it on her episode. I mean, we have very similar tastes and styles and projects that we like or that we're making. So definitely go check her out. I know she just recorded her 2nd episode today, so look for it today or tomorrow. I don't know. YouTube takes a long time to upload, guys. So, I keep getting freaked out thinking there's somebody out there. So check her out. Yeah. I think that's the main ones that I wanted to say. I mean, I watch all of the podcasting royalty, like the Grocery Girls and Legacy Knits, and Mina Phillips from the Knitting Expat. So definitely watch those. But I just want to highlight the smaller ones that you might not have heard of, because everybody's heard of the big ones. So, Lucky Jenny Knits, Crazy Sock Lady, Spicy Homemaker, and Knitted Towel. Go check those ones out this week. That's like your homework. So, thank you so much. I'll be back in about 2 weeks with another podcast, and hopefully a lot of finished objects. And yeah, thank you guys. Have a great week, and I'll see you all later. Bye.